Hi everyone, it's Sunday, January 17th, time for another HideNet Week in Review. I'm Vera Dordick. So the past week saw price movements in the major global hide regions. That said, while Europe and South America saw increases, the American market did not. In fact, the US market saw some prices ease a bit this week, but then the biggest topic here remains shipping. There's a flotilla of at least 40 container ships stacked up off the West Coast, all waiting to get into the LA area ports, which are completely congested. Containers and other equipment are still tough to get, and now often domestic transport is also tight, with trucks hard to get and trains running late. Altogether, it's really starting to affect inventories, even though all the hides are spoken for. And according to comments in the media from the shipping lines, the situation isn't expected to let up anytime soon. So a week or two ago, sources started telling us that the pressure on branded material was starting to build, and this week we saw some steer selections start to soften. On the other hand, cows are doing really well and prices are very firm. With regard to heavy Texas steers, sales were off another dollar at the bottom this week. They were selling from $28 to $30 for seasonal weights. Looking at slaughter, for the week through Saturday, January 16th, the total was 651,000, which is identical to last week. The export report for the week totals 480,400 in sales, which is certainly nothing to get excited about, especially when slaughter is so high. Shipments for the week were definitely affected by the current hang-ups with ocean freight, and they totaled 487,900. Europe saw price increases in many categories this week, and some selections have a bullish outlook, says editor Andrea Guolo. In the UK, he says sellers pushed for more, and indeed they got it. The price of the 36 plus ox is at £1 10 cents in sterling. And Ireland also saw improvement, with that origin going for €1 and 5 cents per kilo. Looking at European bulls, across the board prices are on the move. The large size southern German bulls are now selling at €1 50 cents per kilo, and that may not be the endpoint for the increases, he says. The cow market was also pretty active, with some origins up a marginal 5 cents or less, but others zoomed up by 15 to 20 cents per kilo. Veal skin asking prices are decidedly higher now, and that's despite the dim situation of the past few months. But more luxury orders are expected, and with the limited availability, that means sellers want higher prices. In his analysis this week, Andrea looks at what tanneries are buying right now and why, as well as what the outlook is for when work will revive even further. And he also covers the state of the spring fairs in Italy. Turning to South America, prices in Brazil took yet another substantial jump this week. Editor Ronald Guiel says that things haven't changed and the lack of hides continues to drive prices higher. In fact, raw material this week was up another 10 cents in reals to close at $1 and 58 cents per kilo. As expected, this also caused TR1 to edge higher, and now it's $1 per square foot. In other news from Brazil, the December hide exports were up 25% over 2019, but for the year as a whole, the value was down by almost 16% and just 6.6% in volume for the decrease. We also have a report on the annual assessment of the Brazilian footwear industry, where exports fell by 18.5%, and that's the worst number since 1983. On the more positive side, beef exports were up 8% in 2020, and we also have stories on the upcoming round of virtual fairs that are gearing up. From elsewhere in Latin America, Argentina's slaughter in 2020 was the highest in 11 years. Chile's footwear prices inflated at a high rate. Mexico's industrial activity rose again in November, but the rate for leather is still declining at a substantial rate. And finally, Marfrig is reportedly ready to begin construction on its Paraguay plant before July, but the location hasn't yet been announced. So that's the report we have from last week, and until next Sunday, good night from HideNet.